Tommy, I'm going to surprise you with something, and you're not going to like the surprise, because as you know, we're driving to buy a new car.
Yep.
We're in the Land Rover Disco 2, and I think it's time we replace this.
What?
Yeah, I think it's time we replace this.
Like, you mean get another vehicle to accompany it?
No, I mean get another vehicle to replace it, and I'll tell you why. Look, whenever the lining starts to come off like that,
That's fine.
that's always bad. Whenever the, look at this, whenever that starts to come off, and when I can take pieces of trim and just take them off, that is always a bad sign. But even if I discount all this, I always feel like there is like a minute between me and a catastrophic failure in this vehicle. So I feel like either the engine's going to overheat, the four-wheel drive system is going to blow up in my face, or the electronics are going to go.
Okay, first of all, where is this coming from? Because you used to love this. And second of all, it's never left us stranded. It's never broken down on us. And this was like it when it was new. So I don't know what the issue is here.
Well, I was on Craigslist and I saw the perfect replacement for this car. Now, keep in mind, I have not seen the car up close.
Yeah.
So I told him if it is what it is in the pictures, I told him we'd buy it.
But that means that we'd have to get rid of this one.
Yes, we replace this with something else.
No!
Yes. Look, I mean, it's time for it to move on to the next person.
It's the perfect vehicle. It's got more character than any vehicle we've ever owned. It's incredibly good off-road. It's very comfortable to drive. I mean, there's no replacement for this Discovery 2, except maybe another Discovery 2. Is it another Disco 2?
It's not, but you're getting close. You'll see what it is.
Yeah.
Let's take it for a test ride.
Okay.
And let's see, the guy wants $7,000 for it.
Yeah.
I actually said I would pay him $7,000 because I thought it was a good deal. His son is a fan of ours.
Okay.
And let's just go see if it's any good, and we'll go on from there. Hang it right, it's poking out over here.
Whoa! Is it an LR3?
It's an LR3. Let's check her out. So how long have you had the car?
Just shy of 5 years.
Okay. So are those bigger tires, or are they the standard ones?
They are actually bigger.
Okay.
So it's got about a 2.5-inch lift on it.
Okay.
With the tires new, it was probably about a 4-inch lift, maybe 3.5 to 4-inch, something
Nice.
like that higher. I did have the front valve block went out in it, and it was sitting on the air suspension would go down and sit on the bump stops, you know.
Yeah.
So I drove it to work one day like that.
Can you drive it like that?
Yeah. I mean, for a short distance you can. It just sits on the bump stops and just,
Just bounces
hits
along,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, my biggest worry with it was with that lift, right? Because what it is, it's like a little rod, and it fakes the air suspension into thinking it's lower than it is, so it raises it up
everything up.
higher. Yeah.
Did you do the rods themselves?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
pretty easy to do?
Oh yeah, like 15 minutes.
My biggest worry with that is if the air suspension breaks, right, and you're off-road, those tires are so much taller that you'll probably brick the car, right? Or will it still roll?
It'll still roll with this size tire.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, and how does it do off-road?
It does really well. I mean, with the traction control and everything, it crawls up anything.
So it's got the different terrain management response.
Yep.
Does it have a rear lock, or do you know?
It doesn't have a rear lock.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's got a center lock
Center lock.
and a low diff. Okay, and how about this? So you did this
Yeah,
yourself?
so that's from Atlantic British.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's just their simple one.
Okay.
It's not very expensive, I don't think. I just did a quick release here and just brought the backup light, the reverse lights onto that. So
That's cool. And how do you pop the...
Yeah, how do you pop it? Yeah.
you
just,
just pull that.
Oh, sweet. Look at that. You just lift up.
This lifts up, and then the headrest pops up there.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Then this part just flips over, and that's the seat. So.
And I noticed you have the 3 sunroofs too, which is pretty rad.
I bought this kit off eBay and put these seats in. So it came with these speakers, the seat belts, and the seats, and I just...
Oh, so you retrofitted it?
Yeah.
So it would have been a 5-passenger.
Right, so it doesn't have the rear air like the 7-passenger really does.
Gotcha.
It has a rear air conditioner.
Right.
This is my favorite vehicle I've ever owned, actually.
Really?
It's just, it has a great highway ride.
Yeah.
It's great off-road. It's totally versatile. Does anything you want it to do.
So why are you selling it?
I bought a Range Rover Sport.
Okay.
I'm gonna start building that up.
Oh, yeah?
Just
Did you buy a new one or a used
this one? I bought a used one.
Okay,
But
okay.
this one's just getting on that old enough that it's just starting to.
Things are starting to break.
Things are going to start getting expensive on it. And plus, I just love building them, so this one's kind of done.
This one's kind of done, yeah.
Did you put the brake controller into it? Is that?
I did. Yeah,
That's cool.
You know, like everybody that drives this thing steps on that like it's the brake release. And
Oh,
just
no!
busts it. I've never reattached it like 3 times because somebody stepped on it thinking it was releasing.
Oh gosh.
Brakes. So.
So I noticed that you also have a winch controller on it.
I do have just the winch switch. So
Yeah.
I had this panel made. A buddy of mine made this panel. I just put the winch switch in just to have, but I don't actually have a winch on
Can you put a winch in that bumper?
Sell one that's 4 winch, and this one's for not for a winch.
Okay, so you can't.
But I
really.
think you could probably retrofit. I've seen people like cut this bottom bar out
Okay.
of it.
Well, can we take it for a ride? Do you mind if we take it for a ride and try it out? Yeah. Ready? Let's take it for a ride, Tommy. So do you approve or do you disapprove?
You're making a pretty good case here, I must say. Oh yes.
So this is the one that came after ours, right?
Right.
So ours is a 2004, then the LR3, which this is, came in 2005, and this is 1 year after production began.
Yep. So this would be an 06.
Yeah. Now there are some bad things about it, obviously. There's a little tear in the seat,
Yep. Automatic headlights don't work, so you gotta flip them on manually.
and we only get one key, and a new key's like $500.
Right. So that's gonna be expensive as heck. It's an SE, right?
Right?
And if I recall, the high-end ones were the HSEs.
Yep.
So we don't have the screen up here for the navigation, and we also don't have the screen up here for the kind of off-road pages, which is a little bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But it is one less thing to break, which is good. Kind of old school radio down here.
Yep.
That works. Harman Kardon audio, which is nice.
We do have a crack in the.
Yeah, a little crack up there in the dash.
Yeah, the dash is getting cracked. This thing, I think, has how many miles? 134,000?
135,000.
So we're about 25,000 less than the old Disco 2.
Okay, I'm going to give it some beans.
Yeah,
already.
give it some beans. That's not bad. Yeah.
6-speed automatic.
Yeah. Horn works.
What a crummy horn. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's not great.
You still have like the same high seating position
Yep.
that you get on the Discovery 2.
Which is nice.
It feels a lot newer than the Discovery 2, huh?
Feels a little bit more put together. Now, did BMW own the brand at this point? Do you remember?
No, 2006 it would have been Ford.
Yeah?
So BMW was like the super early 2000s.
Okay.
So this 4.4 liter V8
Yep.
is not the same V8 that you'd find in the big Range Rover.
Okay.
That V8 is a BMW engine.
All right.
This one is a bored out version of the Land Rover or the Jaguar 4.2 liter. So it's got, in my opinion, is a better engine.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I should have negotiated on the price now, Tommy.
I think you're getting a pretty fair deal.
You think 7,000 is fair
Yeah,
for
I think
this?
that's very fair.
You know, now that I actually was in Landy,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I don't want to sell it.
Yeah, now that I'm in this, I feel like it's a good replacement.
So you want this one, and I kind of want that one.
It's funny how that works. All right, Mr. Discovery, you have a new cousin to play with, and this LR3 is actually, in my opinion, the single most important Land Rover ever made. Okay, maybe the first one, but this LR3 really set the stage for every other Land Rover product that came after it. Let me explain. See, the LR3 marked a huge transition for Land Rover from old school body on frame, rugged, solid axle, steel springs to more advanced technologies. Let's take a look on the inside. You see, the LR3, it had to be off-road worthy, but more importantly, it had to be comfortable and refined, and usually the two don't go along together whatsoever. But this clever use of buttons here means in this vehicle, it really does. These buttons right here are what makes this Land Rover so special. This, first of all, is one of the first applications of terrain response ever. So what this meant is, even if I wasn't so good at off-roading, I could just simply dial it into mud and ruts or maybe rock crawl and then let the car figure out what it needs to do. But it still has a lot of the hardware, so check this out. High and low transfer case, but this little button here is probably the most important button in what this vehicle is best known for, the height adjustable air suspension, which is a huge deal. Pull it down to go into the lowest setting and push it up to go into the highest off-road settings. It's all simple, it's all super easy, and what this means is this vehicle should be an incredible monster out in the dirt, but first we're gonna have to make sure it'll get us there. But it's not just the advanced terrain response system that makes this vehicle so similar to every modern Land Rover. It's actually the entire interior and exterior design. We've got this unique flat upright dashboard with, of course, the same dual glove boxes you'll find in every other modern Land Rover Range Rover. Look at the steering wheel. This could be straight out of something like a brand new Range Rover. Here in the center, the shifter is almost identical. Even the way they've incorporated this glove box is so incredibly similar to even an $85,000 brand new Discovery 5. So this car, in my opinion, is easily the most significant of any Land Rover because it marks a new era. Let's take a look at some of the finer details. You'll notice right here, Discovery, and this is actually incorrect. You see, here in the US, this was never actually called Discovery at all. It was called LR3. They removed Discovery from the vehicle entirely. Other parts of the world, yeah, but here in the US, the Discovery name had such a terrible reputation from that vehicle, in fact, that they wanted to differentiate it from being broken down all the time by calling it an LR3. So that was significant. But you'll also notice that underneath, it's entirely new. See, when you crawl underneath this old Discovery, you'll notice these big old-fashioned rigid axles, and you'll notice these big massive frame rails that run the length of the vehicle. Great for off-road, but it means it kind of drives a little bit like a cabbage cart on-road. Not the case on the new one. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, much lower, first of all, and that's because, well, of course, we have the air suspension in this Land Rover, which means not only is it good on the highway, but you can raise it up and make it pretty good off-road as well. But along with the independent suspension, you'll also notice a lack of frame rails, and that's because the LR3 used a truly bizarre configuration of both unibody and body-on-frame construction. It's like a halvesies of both, but once again, all in an effort to make it more usable on the road, but still retain a lot of that off-road capability. And then there's the engine in the LR3, which thank goodness was new and improved over the Discovery 2, because gone was the Rover V8 that dated to 1961, and in its place was actually a fairly brilliant 4.4 liter V8. It's a Jaguar engine, basically a bored out version of their 4.2, but it was much more reliable. It finally had a transmission with more than 4 gears, 6 in this case. It was just a much better and more refined package. Not to say entirely reliable, but a lot more than that old beast. And then we get to usability. And here's the thing, the Discovery 2 has a great tiny wheelbase, which means the breakover angle is awesome, but it also means that the rear seat is horrendous. First of all, look how far this rear fender well intrudes into the cabin. And then when you try to get in here, you hit your head, and for the size of the vehicle, you quickly find out that there isn't any space back here. I mean, what happened? They really compromised rear seat legroom for off-roadability, and the trunk, well, if we're being honest, the trunk isn't actually that much better either. It's great you do have your full-size spare back here, but it makes this rear swing gate really quite heavy, especially if you're smaller. And notice how narrow this whole thing is. You can really tell that this vehicle, well, it dates back to 1989, and it certainly is starting to show its age, whereas the new LR3 is better. The new one has, well, look at this, regular doors that open a regular amount, and you can get in, and there's actually, even with my 6'1" driving position, pretty good legroom. And the third row is far bigger than what you'd find in the old Discovery 2. You get in it through the front now, and check this out, a split tailgate. So not only can you just throw things in, but you can actually use this for tailgating. These third row seats just pop, they just pop up. It's easier than I made it look, I promise. And you have a tremendous amount of more room back here than the Discovery 2, so they made it a lot more usable. They made it a lot more urban friendly. All right, so I love this Discovery 2 more than just about anything. Okay, maybe my mom even, but this new LR3 is worlds ahead the old one. And yes, it's a lot more utilitarian, it's got a lot more space, but the question is it still as good off-road? In the next video, we're gonna put this thing through its paces, in an off-road challenge, and of course we'll go through all the crazy interesting things throughout the interior. We'll do a deep dive into that. We'll do a deep dive comparison with the Discovery 2, but I can't believe we've gone from no Land Rovers a year ago to now 2 of them, and they're old Land Rovers at that. Go back to TFL for more news, views, and real-world Land Rover LR3 project reviews.
Here we are in the Colorado mountains, and we're gonna see if we've bought an off-roader or a poser. Tommy, let's run St. John's. It's kind of a moderately difficult trail that leads to a really cool ghost town with a mine. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this.